long time, Mercedes Benz was seen as the most prestigious and sought after automobile brand in the world. In case you didn't know, Mercedes Benz has been around for over 125 years, promoting nothing but the finest and most regarded prestigious performance vehicles on the market to date. Howsoever, in late recent days, more people have begun to question whether or not Mercedes Benz is still that same prestigious brand. Contrary to popular belief, they are, and they're heading in the direction they expected to head into, and there's one pivotal moment that happened that represented all of what we see today. So with that being said, stick around and stay tuned because you are now watching The Breakdown. For a long time, Mercedes-Benz was considered the originator of many innovations and technological advancements in the automobile industry. If you're anybody that's anybody, you know that Mercedes-Benz has a very rich heritage, beginning its journey in 1886 by Carl Benz and then further along in 1901 with Gottlieb Daimler. The manufacturer is actually named after the daughter Mercedes, and that's how the name began. And Mercedes gave us many gems such as SL Goldwing, the 190E, which is the legendary competitor to the M3, as well as the SLR McLaren. And Mercedes continues to give us nothing but the finest amenities that comes along in an automobile next to Rolls-Royce. However, in recent days, Mercedes-Benz has begun to produce things that make us question whether or not they're still up to par. But I'm here to tell you that that is not necessarily true. So let's go back into 2013 because that is the year where the CLA makes its debut and completely revolutionizes the way that Mercedes-Benz is seen.
2013 will also be the year of the CLA class. We are confident that this look will especially appeal to Generation Y buyers, a wave of prospective new customers for Mercedes that is 75 million strong in the US alone.
Now, when the CLA originally debuted, it was seen as something that a lot of people didn't really understand. For the first time, Mercedes-Benz had unleashed a $29,995 car that was comparable into spec as the same as a Honda Civic, in case you didn't know, because Hondas are not cheap, as well as something comparable to something what is the Acura ILX. And I use those examples specifically because Honda is notorious for giving you affordable quality vehicles alongside Toyota and Nissan. And of course, there were other vehicles such as the C-Class, which is the entry point in most people's wallets for a Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz C-Class is a rear-wheel drive saloon sedan, as they call it, and came with a plethora of options such as a V6 and in recent days a turbocharged 4-cylinder, which is completely exclusive as they've dropped the V6 option. But that's not where I'm going here. At some point after the housing crisis of 2008, Mercedes-Benz had to really think about how can we include the next generation of vehicles into our lineup, because at some point we're gonna age out, and Mercedes-Benz was smart enough to recognize the concept of, say it with me, brand loyalty. Brand loyalty, for all of you who don't know, is something that's a rather interesting phenomenon, especially in the car buying world. Myself, I have been at one point brand loyal to Honda, in case you guys don't know, and there's also BMW, and God forbid you talk any type of the Kia boys or the Hyundai boys, they will light you afire. But brand loyalty is what makes us all susceptible to certain marketing advancements that other brands and manufacturers, because they ultimately want your business. Now, Mercedes-Benz, after the housing crisis, was smart enough to recognize that the incoming generation could not afford these Mercedes-Benz vehicles, and as a business, they have to continue making money. At the time that they came up with this concept, the only entry point out there was the Mercedes-Benz C-Class. Now, I will go ahead and say that the CLA is not the first Mercedes-Benz to be affordable. At one point back in the 30s, there was another vehicle, and also in 1997, there was the A-Class, and the A-Class was exclusive to everywhere but the United States. And Mercedes-Benz wanted to expand their market and wanted to tap into what is called, to their world, Generation Y, or as we personally like to call it, millennials, and they understand the prestige that comes along with being a part of the Mercedes Benz family. The Mercedes Benz CLA came with a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that had 208 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. You could also get the CLA 45 AMG. The 4MATIC option was also available. The CLA is a very interesting case. Never in the history was that car $29,995. If you don't know anything about Mercedes-Benz, German cars in general, most of the things that you order are a la carte, and you can order them in whatever spec way you want to. And the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, when it originally debuted, was $36,000, but after options was around $42,000. Now, when the Mercedes CLA originally debuted, as I said, it was $29,995. However, many complained about the interior quality of the car, and for all of you that don't know, the Mercedes-Benz CLA is actually made in Hungary. Now, in many cases, where the car is made doesn't necessarily matter. For all of you who don't know, the BMW 3 Series is made in Mexico, the Honda Pilot is made in Alabama, the Toyota Camry is made in Kentucky, so it really doesn't matter. But in this particular case, when people see a Mercedes, they expect a Mercedes. This wasn't what we got. However, this was a big moment for Mercedes because once the CLA was released and later the GLA, these entry points opened up a world of accessibility to the Mercedes brands that otherwise we would not have had. Now, the difference between the Mercedes-Benz CLA versus the C-Class and any of its other brethren was that this was based on a front-wheel drive platform with an optional all-wheel drive, which meant that you could get a Mercedes that was fuel efficient, well packaged, and pretty much came with the star that most people aspire for literally half the cost of what it would cost you to get an E-Class. When it comes to a front-wheel drive car, it oftentimes is packaged much differently, and it is much more fuel efficient, and it's also cheaper to manufacture. That is why many of the Japanese competitors do not do rear-wheel drive platforms, because they are more costly and usually drives up the cost onto the consumer. On average, the CLA would compete with the 2 Series, which was already out in debut, but because it was a coupe, BMW would have to go back and revise their initial plan of the 2 Series and the 1 Series, which was the original debut, and then modify it into a BMW mini platform, which we know now as the 2 Series Grand Coupe, which is also what the X1 is based off of, to make it competitive against the Mercedes brand. And that is the brilliance of the CLA. And the CLA would go on to produce things such as the GLA, even more so the GLB. In fact, it would produce the A-Class 220, which is now $33,000. The interesting thing about the CLA was that they could not retain the $29,995 price point because of the options included, and it did get more expensive. Because of the marketing and genius of this idea to make a barrier to entry for young, new incoming buyers, that opened up an explosive sales for Mercedes and opened up the segment, actually allowed them to be much more competitive next to BMW and Lexus. And because of these strong sales, Mercedes-Benz would go on to expound their lineup and more of what they thought people wanted in an automobile, and completely change how we perceive Mercedes-Benz. And for all of you who don't know, Mercedes-Benz is a professional leasing company. They understand leasing like nobody's business, and the leasing deals have been insane for a Mercedes-Benz, and that is why you see more and more of them on the road. Now, if you're in the market for a CLA, I would say that if you just want the prestige that comes along with the Mercedes-Benz, it is absolutely a great value proposition. You can get one on average between $18,000 and $25,000. Now, stay away obviously from the ones that are from 2014 to 2015, and of course don't expect much. The quality will not be superior, but that's not the point of the CLA. CLA is intentionally designed to move you into a C-Class, an E-Class, or more, to create more brand loyalty. Now, there is a juxtaposition that comes along with this, because some people may be traumatized by the experience of owning a Mercedes-Benz and thinking that because of the experience with the CLA or A-Class, which the A-Class is a great buy also, by the way, but many people may or may not want to buy another Mercedes after that. Do take this with a grain of salt. Mercedes-Benz, if you can get into a really nice one, is a great value proposition. and the CLA is no different. And because Mercedes-Benz was genius enough to promote the marketing of this and make it cheaper for everybody to get into, it somewhat diminished the exclusiveness of it, but made it more affordable to get into the quality of the world's oldest automobile brand. In a lot of cases, the Mercedes-Benz CLA is a fuel-efficient, well-packaged, and appointed car, and it comes with tons of standard features such as front collision warning and the also inclusive the 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which at the time in 2014 was unheard of. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the automotive industry, you know that the CLA is still a strong brand segment competitor. Many people still get them and makes it completely a great value proposition. But it's safe to say that the Mercedes-Benz CLA completely changed the way that we perceive the Mercedes-Benz today. And again, more and more people are beginning to buy the GLA as well as the CLA and introducing themselves into other portions of Mercedes-Benz brand. And with that being said, that's the end of the video. Please feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the Mercedes-Benz CLA, and if you think it was a great decision for Mercedes-Benz to introduce this, or did they completely diminish their reputation, or if it was smart on their part. So with that being said, until the next video, guys, thank you again for your support, and I'll see you guys later.